Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me here tonight. The world outside is busy, full of noise and light and demands on your attention. But in this space, you are invited to let all of that gently fade away. Find a comfortable position. Allow your body to feel heavy, supported, and at ease. Let your breathing slow, finding its own natural, quiet rhythm. In and out. Tonight, we are going to travel far away, not just in distance, but in time. We are going to journey to the islands of Japan, to a long ago era of shoguns and samurai, of noble courts and vast green fields, but we will not concern ourselves with thrilling battles or dramatic confrontations. Instead, we will explore the quiet, everyday truths of this world, the steady, underlying rhythm of life as it was truly lived. We will learn what it felt like, what it smelled like, what it was to simply be in feudal Japan. So settle in, relax, and let your mind drift back with me. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. Simply listen and let the story unfold. Our journey begins, as most lives did, on the land. Far from the polished halls of castles and the silent temples of the powerful, we find ourselves in the heart of the Japanese countryside. During the Kamakura period, a time of warriors and emerging shoguns, here, life is governed not by edicts or politics, but by something far more fundamental, the turning of the seasons and the cultivation of rice. Let us explore, now, the life of a Japanese rice farmer, the foundation upon which this entire society was built. Imagine yourself there. The darkness before dawn is still thick and heavy, clinging to the valleys. A chill mist, born from the nearby river, coils round the base of your small, thatch-roofed home. There are no windows of glass, only wooden shutters, and through the cracks, you can feel the damp, cool air. This is how your day begins, not with the sun, but with the cold. You rise from a simple straw pallet on the hard-packed earth floor. The clothes you pull on are coarse, woven from hem, and stiff from the previous day's labor. They do little to ward off the chill as you step outside. The air smells of damp earth, of wood smoke from the embers of last night's small fire, and of the green, living scent of the world waking up. Your world, for the most part, is the small plot of land your family has worked for generations. It is not truly yours. It belongs to a local lord, a jetta, a steward appointed by the distant, powerful government in Kamakura. Your existence is tied to this land, a bond of both sustenance and servitude. The first task of the day is a meager meal, a small bowl of cold, leftover rice, perhaps some pickled vegetables, and a thin soup of miso. It is not meant for pleasure, but for fuel. It is the energy you will need for the hours of back-breaking work that lie ahead. Imagine yourself now, walking with your family or father, your brothers down the narrow path that separates the fields. The sun is not yet visible, but the eastern sky is beginning to blush with the faintest shades of gray and pink. The world is quiet, save for the sound of your own bare feet on the cool, damp ground. You arrive at the paddy. This is the center of your universe. If it is spring, the season of planting, the field is a shallow lake of murky water. Your day is spent bent at the waist, your feet sinking into the cold, thick mud. You take the young rice seedlings, bundles of vibrant green, and press them one by one into the mud, in perfectly straight lines that stretch across the entire paddy. The work is methodical, repetitive, and agonizingly slow. Your back aches with a dull, persistent fire. Your fingers, submerged in the cold water, grow numb. The sun, when it finally crests the mountains, begins to beat down on your neck and shoulders. There is no shade here. There is only the vast, open sky above, and the reflecting water below. The sounds are the squelch and pull of your feet in the mud, the quiet conversation of your family members speaking in low tones, and the constant, almost imperceptible hum of insects over the water. It is a rhythm of labor that has been repeated for centuries. You do not think about it. You simply do it. If it is summer, the season of growth, your work changes. The rice stalks are now tall and green, a sea of waving leaves. Now, your enemy is the weed. You spend your days wading through the paddies, your hands searching below the water's surface, pulling out the intrusive plants that would steal life from your crop. You must tend to the intricate irrigation channels, ensuring the water level is just right, not too high, not too low. You watch the sky with a constant, low-level anxiety. Too much rain could flood the fields and rot the roots. Too little, and the plants will wither and die under the sun. Your livelihood, your very survival, depends on this delicate, stressful balance. And then comes the harvest in the late summer or early autumn. This is the most critical time of all. With small, curved sickles, you cut the stalks of rice, bunch by bunch. The sharp edges of the rice leaves leave small, stinging cuts on your hands and arms. Once cut, the rice is bundled and left to dry on wooden racks. Then comes the threshing, beating the stalks against a wooden frame or using simple tools to separate the grain from the husk. Dust and chaff fill the air, catching in your throat, clinging to your sweat-dampened skin. This is a time of communal effort. The entire village works together, moving from one family's plot to the next. There is a sense of shared purpose, but also of shared urgency. The work must be completed before the autumn rains begin. Throughout all of this, there is the constant, nagging thought of the tax. Soon, the Lord's agent will arrive. He is a man you know, perhaps from a nearby village, but when he arrives, he is not a neighbor. He is an official, an extension of a power you can barely comprehend. He carries with him measuring boxes and a ledger. He will measure your harvest, his face impassive, his calculations swift and final. A significant portion 40, 50, sometimes even 60% of your entire crop will be taken. You watch as the fruits of your year-long labor, the rice that represents your family's security, are loaded onto carts and taken away. What is left is for you. You must make it last through the long, cold winter. You must set aside seed for the next planting. You must feed your family. The calculation is always tight, a razor's edge between sufficiency and starvation. A poor harvest, or a slightly higher tax, can mean disaster. Famine is not an abstract concept. It is a ghost that haunts the edges of your thoughts, a story you heard from your grandfather about a winter long ago. Your diet is monotonous. The polished, white rice is for the lords and the samurai. Your rice is brown, unrefined. You supplement it with millet, barley, and whatever vegetables you can grow in a small garden near your home: radishes, cucumbers, beans. Fish is a rare treat. Meat is almost unheard of. Evenings are short. After the work is done, you return to your small home as dusk settles over the valley. The inside of the house is dark, lit only by the flickering flame of the central hearth. The smoke stings your eyes as it slowly finds its way out through a small hole in the thatched roof. There's little entertainment. Perhaps your father mends a tool. Perhaps your mother spins hemp into thread. Stories might be told, folk tales of spirits, or kami, that inhabit the trees and rivers, or cautionary tales about bandits who roam the mountain passes. The threat of bandits is another low, persistent hum of fear in your life. Dispossessed warriors, or ronin, desperate men sometimes sweep down from the hills to steal food and valuables. You have no real means of defense. Your village might have a bamboo fence, but your hopes for protection rest on the whim of your local lord, who is often preoccupied with his own affairs. You learn to be watchful, to be wary of strangers. Life is a cycle of toil and repetition, of quiet anxieties and small, simple moments of relief. The satisfaction of a successfully planted field. The beauty of the moon over the valley on a clear night. The shared laughter with your family over a slightly larger portion of rice. These are the small jewels in a life of hardship. You do not think of yourself as oppressed, or as living a life that sucks. It is simply life. It is the only reality you have ever known. The world of the samurai, of the court in Kyoto, of the great temples. These are like legends, stories from another world. Your world is the mud, the water, the sun, the rice. It is the ache in your back and the calluses on your hands. It is the constant, quiet struggle for survival. And as night falls completely, and the sounds of the village die down, you retreat to your straw mat, ready to find a few hours of oblivion before the chill of the pre-dawn mist calls you to another DA. Why, exactly the same as the one before. Imagine yourself there, letting go of the day's labor. The darkness is absolute, a comforting blanket. The only sounds are the crickets outside and the gentle breathing of your family sleeping nearby. This is the rhythm of your life, a slow, arduous, and unending cycle. And in its predictability, in its sheer, unadorned simplicity, there is a strange and profound peace. You are a part of the land, and the land is a part of you. And now, you can rest. Our journey now takes us from the open fields and the raw earth into a world enclosed by walls. A world of silk, paper, and perfume. We leave the life of the body and enter a life of the mind and the senses. The struggles here are no less real, but they are quieter, played out in whispered words, in the brushstrokes of a poem, and in the intricate dance of social obligation. We travel back slightly further in time, to the Heian period, the golden age of the Japanese imperial court, and within this refined and isolated world. We seek out the story of a single woman whose inner life would come to define an entire era of literature, a woman known to us as Murasaki Shikibu. The city of Heian-kai, what we now call Kyoto, was a world unto itself. It was a planned city, a grid of streets and avenues, but for the aristocracy who lived within its upper echelons, the true world was even smaller. It was a life lived indoors, behind screens and curtains, in a constant, delicate performance of taste and refinement. In this world, beauty was paramount. Not just the beauty of a face or a landscape, but the beauty of a perfectly chosen word, the elegance of a line of calligraphy, the harmonious blend of colors in the layers of a silk robe. It was a society obsessed with aesthetics, and it is here that we find the young woman who would become Murasaki. She was born into the middle ranks of the court aristocracy, the daughter of a provincial governor and a scholar of Chinese literature. From an early age, she displayed a remarkable intelligence. While her brother struggled to learn the complex characters of classical Chinese, the language of government and scholarship, reserved for a man she listened from behind a screen, easily grasping the concepts he found so difficult. Her father, it is said, lamented that she had not been born a man, a bittersweet recognition of a brilliant mind confined by the expectations of her gender. A woman's role was to be discreet, to be accomplished in poetry, music, and calligraphy, and to make a good marriage that would advance her family's standing. Murasaki did this. She married, had a daughter, But her husband passed away after only a few years, leaving her a widow in her late 20s. It was then that her path led her to the heart of power, the imperial court of the Empress Xerxes. Here, she became a lady-in-waiting, one of many intelligent, talented women serving the young Empress. Imagine yourself now, in her place. Your days are not marked by the rising and setting of the sun, but by a series of quiet, prescribed rituals. You wake in a small, partitioned space within the sprawling wooden palaces. Privacy is a concept that barely exists. You are always surrounded by other women, your peers and your rivals. Your conversations are hushed, your movements graceful and deliberate. Your attire is a work of art and a heavy burden. You wear the junihaito, the 12-layer robe, though the number of layers varied. Each robe is a different shade, the combination of colors at your sleeve and color a subtle expression of the season, your mood and your impeccable taste. The scent of incense, carefully chosen and blended, clings to your robes and your hair, announcing your presence before you are even seen. Life in the court is a delicate game of appearances. Your reputation hinges on your ability to compose a clever poem on the spot, perhaps in response to the beauty of the morning glories in the garden, or as a reply to a note sent by a courtier. Your calligraphy must be elegant, your handwriting a window into your soul, a clumsy phrase or a poorly formed character could bring. You quiet ridicule. There is a profound sense of melancholy and impermanence that pervades this world, a concept the Japanese call mono no, or wear a gentle sadness for the transience of things. You watch the cherry blossoms bloom in all their glory, knowing they will fall in a matter of days. You witness the fleeting nature of love affairs, the shifting political fortunes, the quiet fading of beauty. It is a world of exquisite sensitivity, but also of deep, unspoken loneliness. It is out of this environment, this gilded cage of beauty and constraint, that the tale of Genji was born. We do not know precisely when or why Murasaki began to write. Perhaps it started as a way to amuse the other ladies in waiting, a story to pass the long, quiet afternoons. Perhaps it was a more private act, a way for her to pour her own observations, her frustrations, and her keen understanding of human nature onto paper. Imagine her in a quiet moment, late at night, the rest of the palace asleep. By the low, flickering light of an oil lamp, she unrolls a scroll of fine paper. She takes up her brush, dips it in the ink she has carefully ground herself, and she begins to write. She does not tell a story of heroes and battles. She tells the story of the shining prince, the impossibly beautiful and talented Hikaru Genji. Through him, she explores the world she knows. The story is a vast tapestry of courtly life, of secret love affairs conducted through letters and intermediaries, of political ambition, of exile, and of the profound emotional lives of the women Genji encounters. Each woman is a complex character, not merely a conquest, but a fully realized person with her own sorrows, ambitions, and inner world. As she wrote, the chapters would be circulated among the court. Imagine the quiet excitement as the new scroll was completed, passed from hand to hand among the ladies of the court, read aloud in hushed tones. They would have recognized their own world in its pages. The poetry contests, the anxieties over a lover's visit, the subtle social slights. Murasaki, the quiet, observant lady-in-waiting, was holding up a mirror to their lives, and in doing so, was creating something entirely new. Her writing was not without its own struggles in her diary, which also survives. She reveals a woman who was often withdrawn and shy, who felt the sting of court gossip and rivalry. She speaks of her contemporary, Seishnagan, another brilliant writer, with a certain critical distance, noting her rival's perceived arrogance. Murasaki had to navigate this world carefully, presenting herself as unassuming, all while engaging in the intensely creative and deeply insightful act of writing a masterpiece. She wrote for a decade, the story growing in complexity and emotional depth. The tale of Genji is over 1,000 pages long, with hundreds of characters, a sprawling epic not of war, but of feeling. It is a monument to a world that was, in reality, ephemeral. The wooden palaces have long since vanished. The specific people and their intricate romances are lost to time. But Murasaki's work remains. Her triumph was not one of wealth or power in the traditional sense. It was a triumph of observation and empathy. She took the fleeting moments of her constrained life, a glance from behind a fan, the scent of a sleeve after a lover's departure, the sight of moonlight on a garden pond, and wove them into a story that has endured for 1,000 years. Picture her one last time, an older woman now, her great work largely complete. She looks out from her veranda at the carefully manicured garden. The world of the court continues its endless dance round her, but she has created another world, one made of ink and paper, that is in many ways more real, more lasting. She captured the soul of her age, and in the quiet dedication of her craft, she found a voice that would echo through the centuries, a testament to the profound power of a quiet, observant life. From the quiet, rarefied out of the imperial court, our journey now moves forward in time and downward in social standing. We leave the world of the aristocracy and descend into the vibrant, crowded, and ever-changing streets of the city. Power has shifted. A new class of merchants, craftsmen, and entertainers has risen, and with them, a new culture and a new art form to capture its fleeting beauty. We find ourselves in the Edo period. In the bustling capital of Edo, the city that would one day become Tokyo. Here, we will explore the world of ukiyo with the pictures of the floating world. The term ukiyo, or the floating world, was originally a Buddhist concept referring to the sorrowful, transient nature of earthly life, but during the long peace of the Edo period, the meaning was cleverly inverted. It came to describe a world of fleeting pleasure, a realm of fashion, entertainment, and romance, detached from the rigid responsibilities of everyday life. It was the world of the kabuki theater, the sumo wrestling arena, the tea houses, and the licensed pleasure quarters. The newly prosperous merchant class, though officially below the samurai in the social hierarchy, had disposable income and a hunger for culture. They wanted art that reflected their world, their heroes, their interests. But paintings by masters were expensive and unique. There was a need for art that was beautiful, accessible, and affordable. The answer was found in the ancient technique of woodblock printing. The creation of a single ukiyo-e print is a story not of a lone genius, but of a quiet, patient collaboration. It is a slow, methodical dance between three masters: the artist, the carver, and the printer. Let us follow this gentle process from beginning to end. It begins with the artist. Imagine a man like Katsushika Hokusai or Yutagawa Hiroshige sitting on the tatami floor of his modest studio. Before him is a sheet of very thin, translucent paper. With a brush and black ink, he paints the initial design. His movements are fluid, confident. Every line that will appear in the final print is laid down here. It is a sketch, but a perfect one, containing all the energy and balance of the final composition. This is the master drawing, the shiti. Once the artist is satisfied, this delicate drawing is sent to the second master, the carver. The carver works in a quiet, focused workshop that smells of cherry wood and concentration. He takes the artist's thin paper drawing and pastes it, face down, onto a block of hardwood, usually cherry, that has been seasoned for years and planed to a perfect smoothness. The paper is so thin that the artist's black lines are clearly visible through the back. Now, begins the most painstaking part of the process. The carver takes up his sharpest knife, the kogatana, and begins to cut. He makes a precise incision along both sides of every single line the artist has drawn. This requires immense control, a surgeon's steadiness. He is not drawing. He is outlining the drawing in the wood itself. Once the lines are outlined, he takes up his chisels and gouges and begins to clear away the wood in the negative spaces. Slowly, meticulously, the areas that will be white in the final print are carved away, leaving only the artist's original lines standing in high relief. The original drawing is destroyed in this process, consumed to give birth to the block. This first block, the one that holds the black outlines of the entire image, is called the key block. It is the foundation of everything to come. But a print is not just black lines, it is a world of color. And for every color in the final image, a separate block must be carved. The carver, guided by the artist's instructions, must now create new blocks, carving away everything except the specific area. That will hold a single color, one block for the blue of a river, another for the red of a kimono, another for the soft pink of a cherry blossom. It is a feat of spatial reasoning and unimaginable patience. When the carver's long work is finished, the set of blocks, the key block, and all the color blocks are sent to the final master, the printer. The printer's studio is a place of quiet, rhythmic work. He lays the key block down and, using a brush made of horsehair, applies the black ink evenly across its raised lines. He then takes a sheet of handmade washi paper made from mulberry fibers. The paper is damp, making it soft and absorbent. On the corner of the wood block are two small, carved registration marks, called the kentu. The printer carefully places the paper onto the block, ensuring its corner aligns perfectly with these marks. This alignment is the secret to the entire art. He then takes out his tool, the baron, a simple, circular pad made of coiled cord covered in bamboo leaf. With the baron, he rubs the back of the paper with firm, even pressure. The pressure pushes the soft paper against the inked lines, transferring the image. He peels the paper off, and the black outline of the design is now perfectly printed. He sets this print aside and repeats the process, creating a stack of hundreds of these outline prints. Then, he cleans the key block and takes up the first color block, perhaps the one for the sky. He mixes the blue pigment, derived from a plant like indigo, to the exact shade required. He applies it to the block, takes one of the outline prints, and once again aligns it perfectly using the kenta marks. He rubs the back with the baron, and when he lifts the sheet, a field of soft blue now fills the sky, perfectly contained within the black outlines. He repeats this process for every single color. A red block, a green block, a gray block for a distant mountain. Each time, the paper must be placed in the exact same position for the colors to align without bleeding or overlapping. It is a slow, repetitive, almost meditative process. The printer must feel the right amount of ink, the right amount of pressure. It is a skill born of thousands of hours of practice. Through this patient, collaborative process, the vibrant world of Edo was brought to life. There were prints of famous kabuki actors, capturing their dramatic poses and expressive makeup. There were portraits of beautiful women, the celebrated courtesans and tea-house waitresses, showcasing the latest fashions in hair and clothing. And later, artists turned their gaze outward, creating serene landscapes, Hokusai's Great Wave, or Hiroshige's quiet scenes of rain falling on a bridge. These prints were not considered high art at the time. They were commercial products, sold for the price of a bowl of noodles. They were advertisements, souvenirs, and pin-ups. Yet, within this disposable medium, an incredible level of artistry and beauty was achieved. Imagine holding one of these prints. The paper is soft but strong. You can see the faint impression where the block was pressed into it. You can admire the perfect alignment of colors, the elegance of the lines. It is a captured moment from a world that was always in motion, a fleeting pleasure made tangible through patient craft and quiet collaboration. It is the art of the floating world, a gentle echo from a bustling, bygone era. We have explored the floating world of the common people, an art form born from the vibrant, fleeting pleasures of the city. But there was another, far more exclusive floating world in Edo. A world that was the polar opposite of the bustling theater district. It was a world that was silent, hidden, and almost entirely female. For our final journey tonight, we step past the moats and stone walls of Edo Castle through guarded gates and down long silent corridors into the most secret and powerful section of the Shogun's domain, the Yuku the Great Interior. This was the women's quarters, a gilded cage that housed thousands, and a place of immense, hidden influence. The Yuku was a city within a city, a labyrinth of chambers, corridors, and gardens that sprawled across a vast section of the castle grounds on the surface. It was a place of breathtaking beauty. Exquisite painted screens depicted serene landscapes. Floors were covered in pristine tatami mats. And private gardens were meticulously raked into patterns of tranquil perfection. But beneath this serene surface lay a society as rigid and complex as any on the outside. This was a world populated almost entirely by women. At its very peak was the shogun's official wife, the Mide Dekora, typically a princess from the imperial court in Kyoto. Her marriage a political alliance. Below her were the shogun's official concubines. Women chosen for their beauty, intelligence, and family connections, whose primary and solemn duty was to produce a male heir to the shogunate. But these high-ranking women were only a tiny fraction of the population. The vast majority of the Yuku's 3,000 residents were the attendants, the ladies-in-waiting, the servants, and the officials who made this enormous household function. It is into this life that we shall now immerse ourselves. Imagine you are a young woman who has just entered service in the Yuku. You have left your family and the world you knew behind. Once you pass through its gates, you may never leave. Your life is no longer your own. Your day begins in darkness, long before sunrise. You sleep in a communal room with other women of your rank. The silence is absolute, strict rules govern all conduct, and frivolous chatter is forbidden. You dress with meticulous care. The layers of your kimono, your obi sash, your hairstyle all are dictated by your specific rank and duties. The hierarchy is everything. You learn to bow at the precise angle required when a superior passes. You learn whose gaze to meet and whose to avoid. A misstep, a breach of etiquette, could mean severe punishment or disgrace. Your duties are demanding, not in physical strength, but in their need for perfection. You might be assigned to the kitchens, where every meal prepared for the shogun or his wife is tasted by multiple women to check for a poison or constant, underlying fear. Or perhaps you are tasked with maintaining the vast collection of silk kimonos, folding them with reverent care and ensuring the precious fabrics are never damaged. The air is thick with the scent of expensive incense, burned constantly to perfume the corridors and chambers. It is a sweet, woody smell that permeates everything, a constant reminder of the luxury that surrounds you and confines you. Despite the silence and order, the Yuku is a hotbed of quiet intrigue. The factions supporting different concubines are in a constant, subtle state of competition. A word whispered in the right ear, a carefully orchestrated accidental meeting, a rumor allowed to spread these other weapons in a world where producing the next shogun is the ultimate prize. As a low-ranking attendant, you must navigate these currents with extreme care. For aligning with the wrong faction could end your career, or worse. The most powerful figures in this world, aside from the shogun's mother and wife, are the senior female officials, the Otoshimono, these women, who have dedicated their entire lives to the Yuku, wield immense authority. They control the finances, assign duties, and act as the gatekeepers to the shogun himself. Their favor is sought by all, even by powerful lords on the outside. The highlight and the most stressful event of life in the Yuku is a visit from the shogun. He is the only man, aside from his most trusted retainers, who can enter the inner chambers. His arrival is a highly ritualized ceremony. The corridors are cleared. The women who will attend him are chosen. The silence is thick with tension and anticipation. For the concubine he chooses to visit, it is a matter of supreme importance. For everyone else, it is a moment where the rigid order of their world reaches its absolute peak. It is less a romantic encounter and more a state function. Imagine yourself in a quiet moment of leisure, a rare gift. You are allowed to walk in one of the exquisite, walled gardens. The plants are perfectly pruned. The stones in the streams are carefully placed. It is a scene of immense peace and beauty. Yet, as you look up, you cannot see the city beyond. You can only see the sky. This is the central truth of the Yuku. It is a life of material comfort, free from the hunger and physical toil of the peasant. But it is a life of profound confinement. A gilded cage where personal freedom is the price of admission. The women here wield a unique form of power, shaping the succession of the most powerful government in Japan. But it is a power exercised from within a beautiful, silent prison. As dusk falls, the paper lanterns are lit, casting long, soft shadows down the polished wooden hallways. A gentle quiet settles over the great interior. You prepare for another night, another day of ritual and duty. Another day in a world that floats apart from the rest of humanity, beautiful and isolated, a monument to the strange and complex forms that power and servitude can take. And so, our journey through feudal Japan comes to a close. We have felt the cold mud of the rice paddy between our toes and the weight of a nation's survival on our shoulders. We have sat in the quiet, lamp-lit room of a poet, watching her spin a world from ink and sorrow. We have stood in the dusty workshop of the craftsman, witnessing a fleeting moment of pleasure being given permanent form through patient, collaborative skill. And we have walked the silent, polished corridors of a gilded cage, a world of immense power and profound isolation. Each world was a reality for someone. Each life, with its unique struggles and its quiet moments of grace, was as real and as vital as our own. The farmer, the poet, the printer, the lady-in-waiting, they are all gone now. Their worlds have turned to dust and memory. The great castles and bustling cities have transformed. But you are here, in the comfort and the quiet of your own space. Feel the softness of the surface beneath you. Notice the peace in your room. A peace that the farmer, worried about his harvest, or the lady, navigating courtly intrigue, might have longed for. Let these stories from the past now gently recede. Let the details soften and drift away, like ink dissolving in water, or like mist rising from a valley at dawn. There is nothing more to learn, nothing more to see. There is only the present moment, the feeling of your own slow, steady breath, the gentle pull of rest. Let the silence of the past guide you now, into your own deep and restorative sleep. Rest well.